Let's see what happens. I probably totally screwed things up here.
We're there yet?
We'll see. I don't know. Let's see. Let's see if where the video came back. I'm looking at the original stream, and it seems like it's okay. But then I started another one, so I've probably done some YouTube giant error that will blow up as well. The Old Tube Radio Network. Doing some testing here.
Sizzling sausages and stuff?
Yeah, I've sizzled my sausages and the orange furniture.
There you go.
Well, I don't know about the old stream, but the new one's working.
Yeah, it should say part 2. I'm looking at my old one, which is up on the laptop, and I just heard you say something. So it's actually, I probably have 2 going at once. So this is interesting. The only thing is now, okay, I guess I can be on this page to check it. So now I've got, on one computer, I've got the new stream. On the old computer, I've got the old stream, but it came up on both of them. So that'll be interesting. I'll have to probably delete one. Okay, Christopher, Mr. 38, let's get the general radio telephone that you have been holding for us so kindly on the air. I think we can do that.
All right, so you mean, Dennis, can I check in radio now?
You may check in your awesome sounding radio over.
Right, well, Dennis, I would like to check in my general radio telephone, my Super MC11A, and this is the 24-channel version of all those, and let's see what else we got here. Oh, and we are running this here with the original handheld stock microphone, and there's nothing behind it, just what you hear is what comes out of the radio. Over.
What you hear is what you get. I just realized closed down my Orban loudness meter. I wanted to see if you're making it past 14 on the LKFS, so I'll bring that up. All right, there we go. And then when we actually stopped this, we were going to talk about Browning, because we had a Browning radio check-in. So once we get reconnoitered here, I think we can still do that. I may still have that information. But you are sounding good. I now have 2 video streams. So hello to those who are watching the original Old Tube Radio Network live on February 15th, and those who are watching the one that says part 2, I think. And maybe if you're watching them together, it will be in stereo. Take a transmission, Chris.
Okay, well, yeah, maybe hear me out of both speakers, or else it's doubling. I don't know, but this radio is working. Over.
It's working great. I'll let people know that you're using stock audio, the supplied stock microphonium. There's no amplification going on. And the radio is not strapped. There is a way to put a plug in the back of that radio and sort of put it into, I'm going to call it Civil Air Patrol 15 or 30 watt DC input, but you are not doing that as well. That's probably why the audio sounds good, because you're not overtaxing it.
Well, I'm doing about a dead key, about roughly between 5-6 watts, somewhere right in there. But it's got 100% forward swing here is what I'm looking at.
Oh yeah, it definitely has that no problem whatsoever. So we are good on the Super MC11A, which is where's my list? See, the analog list has not crashed. It's just sitting here waiting for me to put the pen up to it and tell it what it needs to tell. You are radio number 4 tonight. Over.
All right, well, I made it in there.
You made it in with the general radio telephone Super MC8. Let's see. Thanks, Chris. Go back to you for transmission. Do we have another Browning? That would sort of bring us full circle as to what we were actually going to do.
This is MC11A, not 8.
MC11A. All right, I'll make sure I write it correctly in space 4.
Okay, I'm out.
Give me a couple minutes. I'll give you a Browning.
All right, good. That'll give me a couple minutes to get to all the stuff I wanted to. I had we're going to talk about Browning. Mitch, the 23 Skidoo had a great article about, whatever happened to Browning. And it was out of a sort of a local newspaper saying, here's an interview with the guy there saying, here's why we have to do what we did. I thought it was very interesting. And speaking of Mitch, speaking of 23, I think he's listening in somewhere. He's somewhere listening in. I see him on the old stream. I don't see him on the new stream, but I think both of them are going. Yeah, maybe that's what happened. There was a 40-year-old capacitor in there, SWL23, doing the 23 Skidoo tonight, but he is back. And we are going to talk about Browning here, if I can find my stuff. Oh, no, and I had it open. I had the thing that I could actually read open, and when the computer crashed, it took it away. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to read. I think I can. I think I can do this. All right. I tell you, the cameras sure look crappy, don't they? Because that's what happens. I have to reset, before I start, I have to reset all the cameras. They must have all defaulted.
Break OTR.
The break OTR, go ahead. Now we're working?
I'm not sure what you're talking about. I'm just now going back on channel 11, but this is a rather warm radio from the radio lounge, if it's an appropriate time to check it in.
Yeah, let's do that, because we're waiting for a Browning to come by, and that will fill in space. Now, we had a major technical crash on the video audio streaming side. Of course, the radio side is fine, as it always is. When we have the nuclear blast, OTR will be able to stay on the air, at least on channel 11 in the Central Valley, but who knows what will happen to the Universal Media Network. Go ahead, sir, with your item of interest. We are ready to copy your radio.
Well, I think that might have been the Browning you're waiting for.
Ed will be checking in a Browning, but you will be radio number 5 with the selected item that you have right now.
Okay, well, if Ed's waiting, I'm going to make this real quick. For your listening pleasure, a Robin T123 with a Magic Eye tube. I think a 6RE13, which with this amplified aesthetic mic that I've got right now is definitely hyperactive, I would say.
Well, let me get a shot of what we're looking at. The Magic Eye tube, this one we're looking directly into the side of the tube. They cut a little hole into the face sketch in there, and the little lights on the tube from top to bottom. As you increase your audio gain, those two illuminated areas should come closer together.
Indeed. They are right now. I think for the first couple of years I had this radio, I had some sort of a generic, it might even been a Robin unamplified mic. No, actually, no, I think I lied. I think it was an amplified Turner microphone. But the Harvey SWL 20 was good enough to help me obtain this amplified D104 with a semi-customized back to the head of the mic. My first name is Mike, which is, of course, what I'm speaking on right now. And although it kind of looks like
suspiciously looks like an upside-down W. I think we'll just say this microphone has been customized to me. The back of the head has a nice M. Again, it kind of looks like an upside-down W, but there it is. And I don't think I've ever heard anyone check a microphone with their first initial on it on the back of the head. So, hey, maybe there it is, something unique.
Could be Mike and the mic. The MT1, I think that is the photo, and I'll go back to the big screen. I wanted to put up the S meter, so if you watch, you give yourself a signal report. The microphone in the shot here is the desk microphone. I think Cliff calls that the MT1 that was made for Robin, R-O-B-Y-N. Interesting, there was a mention that this is the Japanese manufactured radio. Now, the one after this was for sure the T123B, which was the same chassis as the Robin. What was it? It was the Panasonic chassis. This one here, I'm not 100% sure. It's on Sam's CB35, page 95, because the B does not have the magic eye tube. I'm not sure if this was an import radio or not. The other ones were the Panasonic chassis, the 123B and the 240D. Definitely were, and I think they were plate modulated. Not exactly sure about this one. Would go 12 volt DC, 115 volt AC, and this would have been up to 1972. I think 72 is when they switched over to the B model. But with the amplified microphonium, this is your set. You sound every bit as broadcast quality as you might want.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's going to be a topic maybe for after the show. Number one, I'm quite happy with the Magic Eye Tube. It definitely gives me enough information for what I'm doing. It doesn't tell you everything about the quality of the audio, but maybe just what the power of the audio. But maybe that's a topic for after the show. But on that, I hate to hog up the time and make someone wait in the green room, so maybe it's time to send it over to him. So thanks for letting me check it in. I almost said my favorite radio. I think it is my favorite radio because it's my very first one. It's got the Magic Eye Tube. It's great in the radio lounge and on the road, and that's definitely a plus factor for me. So thanks for letting me check it in, and on that, I'll send it back to you. Thank you.
All right, back to me in the studio. Thanks for bringing it by, filling up radio number 5 for us tonight with the Robin T123. Here, what do we call it? During the big crash of 2020 on OTR, when things wanted to do an update. Sorry about the camera quality, but I'm going to fit around making me look good, because that's pretty much impossible to do anyway. But what I would like to do is see if Mr. Ed is out there, and we will talk to the Browning radio. Over.
I think it's working.
It is working quite nicely. And if you were to ask me to name that radio in one ping, I don't think I could. So I'll let you tell me which one of the Brownings has made it to the air, and I'll see if I can get the appropriate one up for the video.
Well, in that case, this is the R68T68 Browning Golden Eagle. No mark.
Okay, let's start with the advertisement for the Golden Eagle, the first Browning to add the golden mark. After the Eagle, the R27S23 made its run for a couple years in 1967 for a price of $395. This might have been the last reasonably priced well, I should say affordably priced Browning, but at $400 when a lot of radios were selling for half of that in 1967 or 68. This is still a bargain. I think for $395, this was definitely a bargain, and we'll be talking about a Browning in just a minute here. Series 1 and Series 2, in the a year and a half or so that these were made, there were two different versions, also some options for speakers, which we see in the picture, and a all-inclusive cabinet, which we do not. I'm not sure if you have either of those, but we'll go back to you for transmission.
Yeah, this is the Series 2, and just like the one in the ad, this one has the banana mic, which I'm using right now. And unfortunately, I don't have the external speaker, but I've got the rest of it anyway.
Sounds good. You're running it just right. I mean, Brownings, you can really make them loud. It's really hard to overdrive them, and you can run them mellow. Yours is just about right. If you're going to have a rag tube contact with the Browning, you don't want it to be too over the top. But the fact that it can on your Series 2, let's see, the Browning Golding of the Series 2 had the lighted on the air light rather than the spotlight, which was on the Series 1, and then some receivers have a variable RF gain and others have a 3-position switch for RF gain. I'm not sure what we're showing in the picture here. I could zoom in on that. So on yours, do you have the switch RF gain, or do you have the variable?
No, this one has the 3-position, which, everything else I have has variable on it. This is the only one that has the 3-position. It's definitely a little different, but it definitely works. It has a local and one for really, close for like a kind of an attenuation.
All right, and where is your on the air light? Obviously, in the smaller transmitter, it looks like it might be the little red light that's there, or do you have something different?
No, the transmitter portion, the little guy, is got that little light in the middle, and that's what lights up.
All right, interesting. And later on, they made the bigger dials, the channel selector dials, but they've got all that real estate on the front of the radio, and the great speaker, and the first one with the flying eagle badge on the speaker, and then they give you those little tiny channel selector areas, little windows. Are they illuminated behind that to make it easier to see what you're doing?
Yes, they are illuminated, so it does make it a little bit easier. And they are kind of small, but they're not that hard to read.
All right, while I have the video up, let's see if I can switch this. Let's talk about, this is 1967-68. After that, the Browning, the Mark II, and its various forms came through, and then in 1972, around that time, the Golden Eagle Mark III, to about 1976, when everything changed for citizen band radio because of 40 channels, and pretty much started the death knell. Here is something, thanks to Mitch, SWL23, from Asbury Park Press, Monday, January 15th, 1979. And let me thank you, Ed, for the Browning that will get us into our next segment here. Browning Laboratories, the title of this article from the 23 Skidoo, where Mitch posted from 79, Browning Laboratories announces closing. Maybe I can read it off the air. I had this all set up to go, and then when the computer crashed, but it sort of gives an idea of exactly what was happening with Browning, with CB radio, and for that matter, with a lot of companies. I'll call them mom and pop companies, but companies that employed workers back in, that were in for the long haul. So one of the most famous names in the history of CB radio, Browning Laboratories, the manufacturer of the radio with the ping, is closing its doors for the last time tomorrow. According to Gardner Green Jr., we just couldn't compete with the state of the market. The president of the family-controlled corporation that manufactures the famed Golden Eagle radio said it was getting to be too cutthroat, and with all that price cutting, the kind of radios that we make just were not suitable. Unlike the numerous other companies that declared bankruptcy, however, Browning is selling most of its assets. So obviously they weren't the only one in this bust to doom. Browning is selling most of its assets, including a few remaining radios, at a day-long auction tomorrow at its building in Laconia, New Hampshire. So this was back January 15th, 1979. So just a little over 41 years ago. Did anybody go to that sale? Raise your hand. That would have been something. Browning's Golden Eagle, its top-of-the-line model, which listed for more than $900, was the only CB set to feature separate transmitter and receivers. Well, that's actually not true, according to me, the article, but that's close enough. This is 1979, so the last set that they would have had made at this time would have been the Mark IV or the Mark IVA. Because the two components were separated, there was a brief time delay before King, the transmitter, silenced the receiver. So they're giving a little history on the infamous ping. During the delay, the receiver received the king of the mic, and feedback caused a noticeable ping at the start of every conversation. The ping became a trademark of excellence in the CB world, and some CBers who didn't have a Golden Eagle tried to imitate the ping on their own equipment. And we talked about that and showed a few pictures a while back of the paper clips and the bobby pins and things on the D104. It's funny, Green recalled, but the FCC didn't like the ping at all, and we had to reduce it quite a bit on their newer models. It's controlled by a capacitor in the receiving circuit, and by changing the value of the capacitor, you control the volume of the ping. You can tune it down so you don't even hear it at all. And of course, as we found out, the FCC didn't really like noisemakers at all. Back in 1963, it asked General Radio Telephone to get rid of the tone call, to get rid of their, we'll modulate the radio at 100% to get your attention. So the ping was not necessarily something that you turned on and off. It wasn't a switch that produced a tone. It was basically just the receiver and the transmitter talking to each other. So I guess it was a little bit hard for the FCC to kind of drum their hands and say, okay, how do we fix this? But they did say, okay, if you've got some device in there that's causing that receiver to sort of step, to just step a little bit onto the transmitter, then maybe you can work on that, which they did. And there's the ping. Thank you. On cue. It's controlled by a capacitor in the receiving circuit, and by changing the value of the capacitor, you control the volume of the ping. All right. Green warns potential customers, however, not to expect too much if they drive to Laconia for the auction. We continued selling radios until last week, Green said. We have very few radios left, and what we have are mostly untested. Interesting. So it sounds like they actually tested each one of these radios before they went out the door. That's probably why you hear so many today that they're sounding great, because you knew you weren't getting a lemon when you bought one. What Browning is not auctioning tomorrow are the building itself and the patents and trademarks, offering the possibility that Green, or someone who buys the patents and trademarks privately, could once again produce the Golden Eagle. According to Green, the CB market is money now, but the companies that survive are going to do quite well. They will have a nice little industry for themselves, not as well as it was in the fad years, but more than enough to get along. Remember, we're talking about 1979 here. Green said the company's problems began with the fad, when hundreds of new CB companies formed to import low-cost products. Mainly existing companies had to offer their merchandise at substantial losses to either reduce inventory or to generate a cash flow to pay bills, Green said. We weren't hit as early as some others, said Green. Some companies began having problems in 1976 because we concentrated on a more expensive product. We didn't feel it until about a year later. Then, in 1976, Browning tried to hold on, expecting the market to return to normal after the low price sets had been purchased. So what happened is when 40 channels came in, it was basically, I think the FCC said, you really you can't sell the 23 channels anymore. You can't make them anymore. It's got to be 40 channels. So to get rid of inventory, a lot of the companies, and I remember this, going to Sears and seeing Road Talkers for $39 because Sears had to get rid of that 23 channel inventory before they could start selling things. And then there was this sort of 9-month gap between when you could actually manufacture the 40 channel radios and sell them. So it was FCC pretty much put the death knell on citizen band radio with how they figured out how to do this. Well, Browning tried to hold on, expecting the market to return to normal after the low price sets had been purchased, but it never quite returned. Moreover, other companies, seeing Browning did not experience the same problems as early as they did because they had the expensive set, felt the future was in expensive sets. So the result was that more companies began marketing top-of-the-line models, and Browning had more competition. So this had been in 1975, 76, 77. And you did see a lot of higher-end $400 and $500 radios, and some of the other radios. And I think what JT was on tonight, what was the production? When did they do that? 78 or 79 on the SBE 623. So that would certainly fall into that category. According to Green, we lost money every month this year, and we felt it was senseless to continue, Green said. Browning was founded, here we go, listen to this. Browning was founded in 1922 and always concentrated on something concerning electronics, usually leading the field. It was one of the first companies to manufacture oscilloscopes and became a leading manufacturer of hi-fi products in the 1940s. Browning viewed CB as a major growth industry and switched to CBs in 1959. So right when the Class D citizen radio service opened in late 58 and 59, Browning took off and started, just like we heard tonight, 1959, the General Radio Telephone, and a lot of other manufacturers saying, hey, this sounds pretty good. Only months after the FCC started their production in 1959, Green offers one advice to CBers who still hope to own Golden Eagles. 2 distributors, Four Wheeler Communications in Albany, New York, and Amateur Electronics Milwaukee, still have sizable inventories of Golden Eagles and will be selling them for some time until Browning closes its doors for good, back in 1979. So there you go. And that's, if you look at the stock market and a lot of other things in the mid-'70s to the late '70s, you can see Browning was one of the many companies like this that had employees, and the people that owned the company were in it to make millions of dollars, but they probably made a decent living, and they had a nice house, and maybe could enjoy their hobbies. But really, it was a family-owned company, employing families and giving them a living wage. Anyway, that's the deal. 1979, the closing of Browning Laboratories. But thanks to our tube radio operators, we can see that they did a good job of inspecting those radios. And it is 18 minutes after 10 o'clock. I'm counting and I'm outing. Let me get the jingle singers. No, I can't get the jingle singers in here because the link has shut down because of the computer. But I will work on getting that, as if you'd like to check in a radio before you kick out of here, we will be listening for you.
Number 7.
And I think with what we just heard, we'll probably have quite a few Brownings checking in, maybe as a tribute to Gardner Green and all those who worked so hard checking and rechecking these radios to keep them on the air. 7, go ahead.
Yeah, there's the little ping from the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB with the Golden Eagle for microphone.
1972 to 1976, probably inspected by a nice little old lady at Browning on a test bench, and it got the A-OK, and out it went, and it's still working in 2020.
Oh, I guess that's one of those capacitors that have been changed to not do the little tiny ping. Oops.
Well, we won't tell anybody, and you're not really turning anything on the radio. I guess you've made a modification, though. It's not like the tone call where they can say, take that switch out of there. I guess they could ask you to switch over to the other capacitor.
Like that one, and be a small little ping. Yeah, the long one can be give you a headache after a while.
It could. If you're doing a rag chew contact, the station on the other end is probably going to complain a little bit. If you're shooting skip, that's your footprint to let people know that you are getting down or getting up or something like that. Radio number 7. Let's see. Radio number 6 was your Browning Golden Eagle R68 T68, and radio 7 at 1020 will be your Browning Golden Eagle Mark III. Give us another transmission.
Oh, there you go. Well, I guess the ping is basically the Browning CQ for all those out there listening to call in. Kind of like that.
Indeed. The Mark III SSB Radio 7 sounds good. And hopefully before anything else blows up, let's go ahead and pick up, thanks, Ed, for that, SWL 20, who is hopefully still standing tall in the Radio Shack. Hello, Harvey. Uh-oh, I wonder if I've talked too long and he had to go away.
Yeah, I think you just went in for a minute, maybe.
Okay, that's okay. I'm still working on stuff here. So we have, who's open? Radio number 9. And it'll be interesting to see what mess the video is in when I have to go straighten that out. All right, let me check the comments. We're talking about Browning. Jimmy, Gardner Green is still alive and living in Florida. I wonder if he ever tunes in to the old Tube Radio Network. We do have Florida stations listening in. And Phil Nichols, Elsie Maynard, and another buyer bought everything at that auction. Interesting. Great information on that. Who is... Are those aren't the guys from Barkett, are they? I know Barkett Electronics was sort of the place to go for Browning items, so maybe they were associated that way. And good night to Brown Dog Audio, staying up super late with us tonight. There was a picture somewhere of the, I think Mitch posted it, of the Browning Laboratories, as it were. A big building. It was a very big building, and there was, I want to say, hundreds of employees doing what they do best. The article didn't say if after 1959 they were still doing other things, or they went specifically just producing radios. Speaking of radios, looking for Radio 8 as we count them out here on the final moments of the old... I thought the final moments were when the computer crashed, but we came back. So these are the final moments of the old Tube Radio Network. something we do every Saturday, beginning at 8 p.m. here on 27005 Channel 11, started way back in the mid-1980s, before many of us even had a personal computer. Then sometime back, we started doing audio streaming, and now the video and the audio streaming when such things work. But you know what always works is your radio. The Brownings don't have to reboot. And when you talk on your CB radio, you never get a bill at the end of the month from your internet service provider wanting some cash to keep things going. That's a nice thing about CB radio, or a ham radio for that matter. So if you're thinking about upgrading your current ham radio license, or maybe jumping into the amateur radio field, I highly recommend it, especially now at the bottom of cycle 25. It's only going to get better. You'll need very, very few watts and a piece of wire, and you'll be able to do some damage on the airwaves. So if you're studying, keep studying. And who knows, we might just, when the conditions get good, set up a 10 meter AM gathering and see who we can pick up across beaconing across the universe. Good night to Delta Delta X-Ray 73 Ray. Also, I think Robert is checking out. A lot of stations checking out. Last call for the tube radios here in the old tube radio network. And Jim chiming in. Jimmy, the Maynard, L.C. Maynard owned the Maycom Electronics in Benton Harbor, Michigan. Benton Harbor, there you go. That's also the home of Heathkit, right? The Benton Harbor lunchbox. And he sold his inventory to Barkett. Okay, interesting. And then the other buyer was possibly in Kentucky. And then Paul Nichols, the chief engineer, went on to produce the silk-screened Mark IVs after Browning shut down. Hello, Harvey.
Okay. I tried to key up another radio, but it's so dusty inside, it just didn't want to work. So, although if I put another mic on, I might get it to work. Anyway, this is the Browning Golden Beagle R68T68 by Browning, from Browning Laboratories before they shut down.
Yeah, this is a good, 10 years before they were shut down. They were pretty much in their heyday here. Of course, that was bench tested by somebody. Got a seal of approval. I wonder if they put a little tag, like inspected by number 17. Have you had the case off that enough times to see if there's some inspection tag or some mark that it's in there saying, yeah, it's a good thing?
I think this one does have some sort of tag or stamped inside or on the back. Anyway, this is the on-the-air transmitter with the 3-position RF gain type AGC switch. I have another one that's got the spotlight and the RF gain, actual variable RF gain switch. I did find that model, but there's no room to put it in here, so there you go. I'm going to try and check in one more. I'm going to switch mics.
All right, switching microphoniums from the Browning Laboratories R68, T68. I'm ergonomically positioned bad. I keep running into the microphone stand here. But you are radio, let's see, Harvey, you are radio number 8 on the Browning. And see if that's wired correctly to get the relay or the electronic switching or whatever needs to be happening to get the transmitter on the air.
There we go. Okay. It's so dusty inside that in the channel selector, it acts like it's working, but isn't, so I have to watch the meter. It's working now.
It is working now. So did you just switch microphoniums on the original Browning, or are you on another set completely over?
Now, by the ping, you can tell I'm on a different radio. This is the Willed to Me radio from my best man. His wife gave it to me basically after he passed away. This is the Browning Eagle R27 S23. And unfortunately, I have to clean the +2 desk mic that came with it. I have to clean the relays. It wasn't keying up right. But this is his second radio. He originally had a General MC, a Super MC11A, but I won't explain why he got rid of it, but until maybe 2 weeks, and then I'll mention why. But anyway, this one got willed to me, and this is operating basically the way it came to me, with the exception of that microphone that I have to clean. Anyway, the R27S23 Browning Eagle, and it's my second favorite radio, I'd say.
Yeah, it's a Browning. Yeah, look for an SE. Jimmy's out there with some great information. In fact, I should go into. I know there's a lot of pictures of his collection. That's what we should be using as some of the radios. That way, we just try to use pictures that we have permission, so that somebody doesn't get upset saying you use my radio without permission. But there's a lot of people out there with some great collections. Super nice radios. So especially when people are watching this video who really haven't seen these radios before, it's great when we get a shot of somebody's collection. Skip Edwards. Yeah, look, Harvey, look for an SE. Who was Skip Edwards was our main repair tech. So if he went through it, he might put an SE on there.
Well, several of my Brownings have tags inside with initials, so I'll check that out. Anyway, this has the original 20 microfarad cap in it. I haven't keyed up this radio probably in about a year and a half. It's just been sitting. Way too much dust in it, and it sits below the Golden Eagle, which sits on top of it. So if I want to clean this thing, I have to take one radio off and then get to this one. But I think I will be doing that. Anyway, so that should be it for me tonight, and approximately in next week, because I should be working. I thought I have some time off, but actually I've had about 4 days off where I could actually sleep in all day. But, well, I guess I shouldn't turn down the work while I can still get it, so there you go. Alrighty, the Browning R27S23 willed to me by my best man before he passed away. He was my best man at my wedding, and after he did pass, his wife called me, mentioned that happened, and I ended up with this. Okay, we'll talk to you in a couple weeks.
Still working great. Thanks to Skip and all the gang at Browning Laboratories, who would be, I'm sure, delighted on how great the radio sound. Built like the best automobiles. This is like one of those auto shows, right, on a Friday night when you go down to the hamburger stand and look at the fins and chrome on the automobiles. Here on Saturday nights, we look at the fins and the chrome and the capacitors of the tube radios. Thanks for Radio 9, the R27S23, and a great story to go with that. Last call. I'm going to shut it down here at 10:30, staying up a little late because we had the computer crash. A lot of people staying up late early into Sunday morning to hang out with us here on the Old Tube Radio Network. And I'm sure they're like JT does the get on the air nights, whether it's an old radio night, a vintage radio night, or just to get people back on the radio for a little bit. To be civil, and this is pretty much what it sounded like. If you were listening back in the 60s and 70s when they were doing the 5-minute on, 5-minute off rule, and you don't hear many call letters going on. But this is what you would hear. This people chatting, having a good time on a Saturday evening. Back when the CB radios were sitting in the living room on the doily, and when you got done watching Jackie Gleason or Red Skelton or Jack Benny or whatever, maybe even the Smothers Brothers, you would kick on the radio and talk to your friends in the next city, down the block, and hopefully have a great time. Counting and amounting, and we'll be right back. And the rebooting, I guess, is going around. X4000 rebooting. I don't know if mine was a memory thing. I normally just restart. It's that habit from the TV station about before you do something important, just restart everything. And it's been working so well. But I forgot tonight. Sort of, there are so many windows and things open to get everything running on the Universal Media NetWeb. The radio side, easy. Just turn on and key the microphonium or your foot switch, and away you go. Just the way Gardner and all the people at Browning keep it simple. Keep it simple and make it work. And people will be talking about your radios and talking on your radios for 50 years. The Old Tube Radio Network.
You're tuned to OTR. Channel 11. Right here in Fresno, California. Stay with us. Old Tube Radio. And be modern.
And since they seem to be working, let's go ahead with the fanfare.
This is the Old Tube Radio Network. Ladies and gentlemen, stand by. It's time now for the current OTR totals.
The current and final totals for the Old Tube Radio Network, such that it is tonight, February 15th, 2020. Thanks to those of you who jumped into the radio room tonight, took time out of your Saturday evenings, family time, or whatever. Maybe you had to sneak in to key the radio, but that's okay. We appreciate it anyway. We had 54 SWLs checking tonight, 11 on page 1, 16 on page 2, 14 on page 3, and 13 on page 4. Of course, a host of you listening in at oldtuberadio.net and watching the video when it was up and running. We hope, like we mentioned before, that you do something like this where you are at to encourage people to get on the air and have a good time with whatever radio they may have. Sitting on the radio bench. Most heard radio tonight from Laconia, New Hampshire, the Browning Laboratories with, looks like 4 General Radio telephones. Let's go down the list before we sign out here. The General Radio Telephone MC5, radio number 1 at 856 from Jerry. Then we heard the General Radio Telephone MC2 back from 1959 when it was first made. Sounding good tonight, thanks to Paul checking that in as radio number 2. Radio number 3, the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB from Jerry. Radio 4 tonight was the General Radio Telephone Super MC11A, always sounding good with a regular microphone This goes to show you that if you put the radio together right, you don't need all sorts of extra stuff. It comes out of the box ready to go. The Robin T123 also sounding nice with the magic eye winking and blinking for radio number 5. Thanks for Mike for that. 2 from Mr. Ed, the Browning Golden Eagle R68 T68 and the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB. And then 2 from Harvey, the Browning Golden Eagle R68 T68. And then instead of advancing, let's kick back to 1965 for the R27 S23 as well. The Old Tube Radio Network says 73. Thanks for listening in. We do archive the audio. Go to oldtuberadio.net and click on the archives. Let the OTR magnetophone load all those 3-inch reel-to-reel tapes and either a tube radio or an SWL check-in. Listen to yourself. Give yourself a radio check. And the videos stay up for a while when they actually are up. And you can check your radio out and audio out that way as well. If you are watching this for the first time, hopefully we have given you some information on the radios, what they look like. Help you out if you're looking to buy your first tube radio in your collection, or maybe your 17th, 117th, or you just enjoy the classic sound of good quality AM. Thanks for watching us tonight. Thanks to SearchFlorence.com for keeping the Nixie tubes running. We will catch you next time on the Old Tube Radio Network.
And thank you, Dennis, and of course, Tupozo Control.
Baker Oscar, Zulu Oscar, and the honking proboscis.
Hey, Ed,
Yes?
what radio are you on now?
NICOM.
Okay. I expect it's just a hair more than 3 watts.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All team time, Dennis.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, on some radios, 5-watt DC input is just a suggestion.
Yeah, 10-watt carrier.
Okay, OTR and Harvey, you still there? And Ed, you're still floating around too. Dennis, can you still hear me?
I can still hear you over.
Harvey, you gonna stay on the shack for just a couple minutes?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I have no idea how this is going to go. It didn't go quite so well when Harvey and I were attempting to do this. Dennis, I'm going to play you a little bit of audio. Maybe I'll stop it, and maybe you can tell me if you can hear it, and let's just see what happens here. Hopefully there's no feedback. Hold on, here we go. And, of course, using the amplified microphone causes the 6RE13 to...
Hey, thanks, Jim.
Just wake and blink even that much more, so... I'll pause it right there. Dennis, can you hear what you're saying there on that recording?
I think I heard you better. I could hear that I was talking. There was a bit of feedback. I could tell it was me, but I couldn't tell you what I said. And that's not because I couldn't hear it. I probably wasn't listening. I'm thinking, what was going on here? And I realized, oh, that's me.
Oh, no. All right. So what do I do to this recording? Do I turn the volume down? Let me try one more time. This is bad that that it's not working out. Let me try this, and tell me if you can see what you're saying here. All right, could you tell what you're saying there?
Yeah, I was talking about the Robin. I was talking about the using the old slogan from the advertisement, 99 and 44/100%. So I could get that much.
Okay, this is bad. that. I'm sorry it's not working out quite so good. Well, let me just play this, and then maybe I'll explain. I'm sorry, I have a feeling it's going to be more of a pathetic failure than not. Let me play a little bit, and then I'll see if you can guess what it was. I'll explain here. Let me get this going again, and... Why, thank you, as always. It's a pleasure. So, KJ6 EQV/AG on the side. Oh, we don't want that. All right, could you kind of tell what you were saying right there?
I could kind of tell. I'm thinking this could be, just from what we were talking, it might be something off of FM. What's happening is the EQ is so high pitched it hits these high frequency peaks, and the radio doesn't, the transmitter doesn't handle it as well in transcribing it back. But I could tell I was there, and I'm thinking, is this something from FM?
No. All right. Let me turn this radio off. Okay. So here is the deal. I'm going to have to send you that audio, and I don't even know if you're going to be able to work your magic or not. This Thursday is the 10-year anniversary of me surprising everyone when I got my ham radio license. I think I'm going to have to look at it because I still have the original test papers and all that good stuff. I think I got my tech license, oh boy, probably in, I think it was January of 2010. And then probably less than a month later, I got my general. I waited, and finally saw it online that I had a call sign and general and all that good stuff. So I actually I waited. I didn't tell anyone that I got my tech license, and I didn't tell Harvey. I didn't even tell you that I got my general. I waited and waited. I finally got confirmation online. And that was me. I think I checked it. Well, I did check in my radio, my Robin, and then instead of signing off, whatever 47, I gave you my call sign, which completely caught everyone by surprise. I think you were rendered momentarily speechless. I thought it was priceless. Your reaction. I do have another audio clip of I think after the show. Harvey and Cliff. Well, actually, I think it was Cliff that kind of chimed in first, saying, "Wait a minute, did you get a ticket?" And Harvey, the conversation, Harvey, between you and Cliff was just absolutely priceless. As is my embarrassment that this audio clip it isn't really working out over the air.
Well, the audio is definitely there. It's just because of the proximity to the microphonium and amplified microphones and speakers, not transducing as well as it should, but it sounds like it's all there. And 10 years ago, so KJ, the KJ6s were 10 years, because we are now up to KN, I think, HIJKLMN. So, and I'm a KB6, and that was that was in 1984. So there was this lag until about 1999, 2000, I think, when they switched things around a little bit and things started taking off. So good deal. Let's see. You only have, 15 more years to go before you are eligible for, the QCWA, the Quarter Century Wireless Association. So you're on your way.
Should I pretend antenna. I know what that is.
It's just one of those things that if you are around long enough, they say, hey, you've been here long enough, and you can walk in the door and join the club. But I need to turn off a couple of things here, but I totally forgot about that. I'm glad you have a recording of that.
Yeah, I recorded it. It was a freebie.
All right, good night, everybody. We're going to shut the stream down here. It's been going too long, but thanks for listening on the L2 Radio Network. We'll return next Saturday
I'm playing the audio through
at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we hope. Good night. Thanks for listening.
And I can hear it just fine, and I'm mortified that it's not going out over the air like it should. But everyone's reaction is just priceless, and I'm so sorry that it's not working out great. But yeah, I got that the initial thing right after I had checked in the radio I'm on right now, as well as another clip that kind of came on after the show, and it's great. Harvey, I think you, I don't know, you gotta come over sometime this week, and I'll play it for you. And your reaction was priceless again.
Yeah, I can imagine.
All right, I'm gonna go before this laptop. I always use.
And don't talk about crashing
because
things.
They're so bulletproof.
It looks like the video is crashing. Good night, everybody. The L2 Radio Network.
Off. It's my.
And we'll see what kind of mess this made with
my
the
old one. I think it's my old
crash in the
one.
middle.
Its hard drive is not doing so well. I was clicking on the
and the winner
audio
is
file, and